When designing or buying a chicken house, you need to think about 4 things primarily. 1, it needs to provide shelter from the rain and from the snow. You can have your shelter open on top or even on the sides, but you need to have at least 75% of it covered to provide adequate shelter for those things. The second thing you need to provide is enough protection from the sunlight. They can't be in full sun all day, especially on hot days. You'll see them, they'll want to go back in their house and stay cool during the heat of the day. Same thing there. You could have an opening in the top, but you need to have enough room for all the chickens to get underneath and get adequately protected from the sun. The third thing is ventilation. You want enough airflow coming through, even in the winter, especially in the winter. You need ventilation up at the top or at the bottom or in the side, some place for air to get through. And lastly, you need to have predator control. And I think if you can remember the 1-inch rule, you should never have more than 1-inch gap anywhere. So if that means you need to put up a wood wall or chicken wire mesh, anything like that, just remember 1 inch, no more. And that'll keep all your predators at bay. So we got our 4 functions of the chicken house. Now we need to talk about the basic design. First of all, square footage. How big do I make it for my chickens? Well, if you're just gonna keep your chickens in there all day long, which I highly discourage, you're gonna need at least 3 square feet, if not 5. Sometimes in the winter, you might wanna keep them in the greenhouse, like Joel Salatin or something like that. He keeps them at 5 square feet per bird, and he keeps them there for 3 months. So any extended time, they need, I would say 5 square feet per chicken. If it's just their night shelter, if it's just their hotel, I often do this 1 square foot per chicken. And that sounds small, but if they're just staying in there at night and they're just going in there to sleep, it's no problem. And they're out and about during the day, it's no problem. Then you need to provide perches. This is nature's limb off the ground. In nature, if chickens were out in the wild, they would naturally fly up into a tree and what you call roost there at night. So what we're gonna do is mimic nature and provide them what we call perches. And I use 2-inch by 2-inch wood to go across, and they love to get up there, and in the winter they get close to each other and keep each other warm, and they just feel safer. They feel like they're away from predators during the winter. The next thing that you need to make sure you provide is nest boxes. Especially if you have laying eggs, they're gonna need somewhere to lay their eggs. It needs to be somewhere cool and dark. They like to, in nature, they would go off and hide under a bush, so you kind of need to mimic that bush. You also want to make sure the nest boxes are covered, otherwise they'll perch on top of it and manure all up in that nest box. So you need to either have a lid for it or have the perches high enough up so that the chickens can't get on top of them. And lastly, you need to provide dust boxes. This is how a chicken takes a bath. It jumps in the dust, it puffs its feather, it gets the dust all over it, and that prevents the mites from taking place. And you have to provide a dust bath in the house, I say, because if it rains, they're still gonna need a dust bath. Even if it's muddy outside, they're still gonna need a dust bath. So I like to keep my dust bath inside the coop where it can stay dry and they have access to it all the time, all year round. Here I am in front of my chicken tractor. They call these chicken tractors because they're made to work. They have an open bottom, which means the fertilizer of the chicken can go into the ground, the chicken can till the ground, or the chickens can mow the ground, hence chicken tractor, putting the chickens to work. So you build a chicken tractor 2 feet tall, leave access. I've left it so that you can hinge this open. I built it the size of my garden bed, 40 inches by 8 feet. That way, when the garden's done, that garden bed is done, I can put this chicken tractor over it, or I can put it on my garden bed to prepare it for the chickens to begin to till, and then remove the chicken tractor and the chickens come in. I built it multi-purpose so that you can use it as a chicken tractor and close the door and let them do their job on the garden bed, or you can put them in an area like I have right now next to the garden where they're in a pastured poultry net, and I open the door so that they can get out, and this serves as their house. Attach these O-rings and attached a wire handle to it, just homemade electric fence, thick electric fence wire, and just something like a rubber hose, or this is just a vacuum handle to pull it. I built this on both sides so you can move the handle to this side or to the back. Notice I have this facing towards the sunny side. Also have 3/4 of the roof covered. That's enough for them to get under the rain, but 1/4 of it is open with electric or with poultry net so that the sunlight can still get in. Notice I've put braces on it to make it stronger. It just skids around on the ground. Also should note that I don't like using pressure treated wood, especially if it's going to be all in the garden, so I used cedar. It lasts longer. You could use unpressure treated wood and just paint it with some eco-friendly protective paint. So I'm in front of my A-frame. This is definitely one of my favorites. This is a design by Harvey Usry. It's great. I use it for a lot of different things. That's one reason I like it. It's multi-purpose. I use it for winter housing. I'll house them in here. We'll put plastic on this if we need to make it a greenhouse style thing. Then we'll put a poultry net around it and let them out into a garden bed that they're preparing over the winter. It'll be deep mulched. And I can kind of move this around with my poultry net and let them work different areas of the farm. What I like about this A-frame is, one, that it's mobile. I think all my pens are mobile. I really like that because you never really know where you're gonna keep one thing, and it's always good when they're mobile because you can really put the chickens to work that way. I like that you just mount the wheels and you can go with it. I like that the ground is exposed, so if you need to keep them in there and you want them to do a till job inside of it, or you want the manure to go to the ground, it goes straight to the ground and then you move it to a different place. Probably one of the disadvantages about it is also that it's close to the ground, and so then it would be hard to move over big terrain or tall grass. I'm next to my pastured poultry pen. This is inspired by Joel Salatin. This is a larger version of a chicken tractor, I guess you could say. It's got an open bottom. It's 2 feet tall. This one's 10 feet by 10 feet. He makes his 10 feet by 12. I use it for multi-purposes. Like him, I've used it for meat birds. Right now, I'm using it for baby chicks. Around here, we got a lot of hawks. And the hawks will pick up our baby chicks. So I like to keep them in this pastured poultry pen until they're a little bit older. I'm also using it for new mamas and their chicks. I've just mixed them in there together. They seem to be doing all right. I've also used it for pastured eggs. I actually added an egg box to it, and so we've had chickens in here that are in eggs. I've used it for all different kinds of things. It's very multi-purpose. That's my main reason for liking it. It's just so across the board. One man can move it. That may be a disadvantage, is that it's a little bit heavy for me. Salatin moves his pens with a fabricated, special design, welded dolly. I don't have that capability, but what I did is I actually added PVC pipe to the bottom of this, so there's less friction between it and the ground, and it's easy enough for one man to move. It's got an openable lid that is very convenient for getting in and out of it. I've got a 3/4 shade. A quarter of the roof is open to sunlight. Half the side is open to the sunlight and for ventilation, and it's just an overall well-rounded scoop into my operation. This is my chickshaw. I named it that after what you would call a rickshaw, because you move it just like that. It's just on 2 wheels and you've got to pull across, and that's how one man would move it. I use this for my pastured poultry operation. I move this for going long distances across the farm, going across rough land to new pastures. It's just good for that because it's got big wheels. It's really light. I could put 30 or more birds in here, probably 3 dozen birds in here, and I can easily move it while they're in here. And that would lead me into what I really like about it. That I really like that it's so light. I needed it so that I could have a house that just one man could move without machinery. It's light enough to do that. It's all made out of wood. And in fact, most of it is made out of 2x2s. And then I also made the door so it can also be the ramp. I also made the floor the actual perches. So they don't need such a tall structure. They only got 2 feet in there, and that's plenty of height for them. The perches are 2 inches by 2 inches, and there's enough in there for 36 birds. You need 9 inches per bird, roughly. I've also laced the bottom with a wire mesh that's 1 inch, so that predators can't get through, and also their manure can drop through to the ground. I made the nesting boxes out of milk crates that you can access from the outside. You just go to the outside and you just pull the nest box out, and either grab the eggs or take the nest box with you. One thing that's good for is if you've got a broody hen, you can actually pull out the whole nest box and take that, and that be her broody hen station in her quiet, lonely place. And then you can replace that with another milk crate. I also made it so that the handle can pull out and it becomes the stand for the roof, just for access for when I have my dust box in here and things like that. I would say the only disadvantage to this thing is right now, because I made it of such light material, which I did, I purposefully made it of this white reflective material so they wouldn't get hot in the summer. If you're in a really windy place, that could get picked up. And when the chickens aren't in it, it could be too light if you're in a really windy place, and the wind could catch this and pull it up, but I haven't really had that problem here where I am in North Carolina. Also, this is a neat feature. I've built the roof so that you can, this is for summer, but you could totally pull this plastic off and replace it with clear plastic to give you a greenhouse effect and actually keep them warm during the winter.